All right, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through how important I think cost per click is to a Google's ads campaign. Cost per click is also known as CPC inside of Google Ads, so those two things are the same. Um, I often I often get asked a question by business owners, and they're like, "What's the actual cost per click?" Because they want to know exactly what they're paying. And the thing is, cost per click is random. Like it can be really high one day and really low the next day. It just depends on who's bidding in the auction, right? So it's not like a constant thing, but you can find out an average. And even with the average, I often come to the conclusion cost per click, it's important, yes, and I often say it's not important at all, but it's a factor inside the formula of whether or not you can be profitable. So when I'm looking at how important cost per click is, you got to consider other factors. You can't just say, well, a $20 cost per click is too high. It's like, well, why is it too high? Well, just because that's too high. It's like, well, what are the other factors? What's your conversion rate? How many leads do you need in order to make a sale? And what is the lifetime value of that sale? If you have a super high lifetime value, so let's think pool installation for a second. Say you make $25,000 off installing a pool, and your actual cost per click is, let's say, 25 bucks a click, and you have a conversion rate of 25%. So that's 1 in 4. You're looking at 100 bucks a click. It's like, okay, how many leads are required to make a sale? Well, it requires about 10 people to buy. 10 leads for one sale. Okay, so it's $1,000 a lead, and you make $25,000 off of the pool once you sell it. Yeah. So you're making $24,000 off their lifetime value. It's like, yeah, but you can't afford a $25 click. Well, no. It's like it's just funny because people don't understand the entire system. But when you explain it to them like that, like, okay, this is what your actual lead costs are going to look like, they're like, okay, well, that makes sense. So actual cost per click isn't as important as a lot of people think it is. And a lot of ad agencies I see, especially ones that try to keep costs as low as possible on their end, they don't use landing pages, they don't use uh, things that they should be using. Let's just leave it at that. They'll target broad match, so their cost per click generally is super low because they're going after keywords that aren't very high intent or high buying intent, so your conversion rate is just utterly awful. So they'll be targeting keywords like HVAC DIY, and it's like, yeah, our cost per click is super low because people are only paying like $1.50 for that keyword, and it's like, yeah, there's a reason people are only paying $1.50 for that keyword because no one's gonna buy from it. Um, and I'd rather spend the money somewhere else, especially keywords that I know people are interested in purchasing that service. So if it's HVAC companies near me, emergency HVAC, stuff like that, that's a high intent. Someone needs your help now, as opposed to HVAC DIY. I would much rather pay a higher cost per click, get the higher intent keyword, know it's going to convert, than a broad match keyword that may or may not convert, probably won't convert, even though it is a lot cheaper. And a lot of people automatically assume, well, conversion rate just has to do with landing pages. It's like, no, conversion rate also has to do with keywords. And if you're sending really crappy keywords to a landing page, it really doesn't matter how good the landing page is. You're still going to have a crappy conversion rate. It's going to take, a crap ton of clicks in order to get one lead, and chances are those leads are going to be terrible because they're people just looking around. They're looking for the best quote or looking for work or something like that. And it really makes the entire process just not a fun place. And that's why you see a lot of companies get burned by Google ad agencies, and they're like, well, they promised, how many leads. And even if they do get a lot of leads, a lot of them are garbage just because they can get a crap ton of clicks, crap ton of leads, and all for a super low cost. But the leads are garbage because they're targeting bad keywords. So it's important to keep in mind high intent keywords as opposed to just going with the absolute lowest cost per click. And that's really what I look at when I look at CPC and cost per click inside of Google Ads. So to sum it all up, how important is cost per click? It is very important, but it is a factor in the formula of determining profit. And that formula is the actual cost per click, the actual conversion rate, and how many leads does it take to make a sale, and is that cheaper than your lifetime value? And if it is, you can be profitable. If it's not, then you're losing money. And that essentially determines whether or not you can afford a cost per click. A lot of companies, they can afford a very high cost per click, but they don't know it. They just automatically assume high cost per click is bad. I can't afford $20. I can't afford $30. But if you tell them, like, could you afford a lead cost of $100? And they go, yeah, that's fine. It's like, but I can't afford a $20 cost per click. And it just kind of makes me laugh because it's like, yeah, you can, but you got to explain it differently for them. So that kind of answers the question of how important is CPC. Yeah, it is important, but remember, it's part of the formula. It is a factor, and always look at the data. If you have super high conversion rates, cost per click doesn't matter as much, especially if you don't require a whole bunch of leads and you have a super high lifetime value. So yeah, hopefully that answers your questions of how important is cost per click inside of a Google Ads campaign. It is, but it's also, dependent on a lot of other factors. If you have any other questions, leave them down in the comment section below. I'd love to answer them. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day and take care.